Hi, I'm Alex Sura from Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology Computer Integrated Machining Program. Today we are discussing programming on the wire EDM. Last session we discussed the M codes that are different than programming a VMC, as well as the G code that is all fairly similar to programming a VMC. Today we're going to talk about the G92, which is a new code for you if you've only programmed a VMC before. It's kind of a unique code that's going to show up at the beginning of your program on a wire EDM, and it's going to set our coordinate system. So when we look at this, I would have a rapid move above this that would take me to the X and Y location that you see here. So I'd have a G0, X2, Y2. And when I call up this G92, so I'd physically moved to that location, then this G92, when it's called up, it's going to set my work coordinate system to that G54 is going to zero out in relationship to the 0 of this X and Y location. The other thing that it's establishing is my program plane. So that part's a little more abstract. And if we look, the J and the I, the J is setting the program plane. So that's the plane, or the distance from the table to where we're actually cutting our geometry. And the I is our incremental distance from that program plane to the bottom of our part. So in this case, and most of the time, your J and your I are going to be the same, just the I will be negative. So if we're doing straight cutting and it's right on the table, it's going to be a +1 for I, or for J, and a -1 for I, if it's a 1 inch thick. But in this case, I wanted to show you when it would be different. So here's a case where if we have our table, here's our table, here's our lower flush cup, upper flush cup, our wire, and this is our part. This is a fixture. So if my distance from the table to my program plane was 0.5 plus 0.75, that's going to take me to that 1.25 to this program plane. And then to get down to the bottom of that part is just a -0.75. So you can see where those are different numbers because of this fixture and because of this cut in where we're doing this taper cut. We're not going right to the top of the part. So there are instances where they will differ. If I invert these and I'm in 4-axis mode, I'll actually make the program cut completely upside down. So that's how powerful this particular code is. And all wire EDM require that G92 at the top. Okay, so that's something to do. So here's our program. We have a O number, just like everything else. And we're going to set our safety line is a lot less involved than others because we don't have can cycles. We don't have all that kind of stuff. So we're just doing a G20, G90. We're setting it for inches in absolute. Then I'm rapiding to a 1/4 inch off the bottom of this part. So today we're going to go around this square. Okay. So we're rapiding to that quarter, 1 inch, -0.25, -0.25. We're calling up a G92. That's going to set my coordinate system. And you can see that we have a 1 inch thick part and we are not cutting a taper. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to thread a wire. We're still off the part here, so we'll be able to do that. You always want to make sure you're far enough away from the part that you don't affect the flush stream because it's going to make your wire thread funny. So thread the wire, M20. M85, we're going to fill our tank. We're going to turn on that M25 we talked about in last program, where we're going to turn the approach cut on so that it reduces the amount of pressures and voltages so it eases into the part, and then once we're fully engaged in the part again, it'll cut differently. The M81 turns our voltage on, our wire feed, our flush, so 82, 83, coming right down here. And then we're going to have servo feed on, which I would recommend. That's going to change your feed rate based on the cutting conditions. If it notices it's cutting well, it's going to keep that M90 on. Here we're going to turn on the correct cutting mode. Okay, so M15 P0, that's going to be vertical. Then we're going to turn on power setting 1 and offset setting 1, offset 1. Okay, so that when we do our G42 here, it's going to use that reference. So we're going to cut our comp right, come over to here, that X0, Y0, and we're then going to go to corner 2 here, so X1. Then we're going to go to Y1. Woohoo, hope it's a little straighter than that on the machine. Then an X0, and then a Y of 0.5. So what's going to happen there is after that 0.5, we have an M00. So that's a program pause that the operator can't turn off. And I would strongly recommend that. And what that 50 thousandths lip does is it keeps our part from dropping. So we can do a couple things here. We could fire this thing up and go backwards with a different cut setting and then finish it off. In this case, we're just going to cut it off just for simplicity's sake, but that's how you could get a better finish around the rest of the part. And this tab is important because that part falls in without the operator there. If it's big enough, it can damage the equipment. It could drop onto the lower head of the machine. It can also lead to broken wire. So we typically like to call the operator over there. It's going to beep and just pause. The operator is going to hit the green button. It's going to cut through, and you'll actually hear it. It sounds like the hacksaw when it gets towards the bottom of right towards the end of the part. You're going to hear a difference in the cutting. Right when that voltage drops to 0, they hit the red button to stop the cut, and then they're able to take that slug out. So after that program pause, they hit the green button, they cut to 0, and then our part is we're going to lead off the part to the X of negative 0.25, Y of negative 0.25, and that's just our lead out to turn off our G40. This portion in here, you do not need. You could just do the M30, but I wanted to emphasize those codes to shut everything down if you needed those at some point in the code. So I hope this helps with understanding how to program that EDM a little bit, and thanks for listening. Have a great day.